All right, Robert Kelly is a professor in the Department of Political Science and Diplomacy at the Pusan National University. He joins us now live from Busan in South Korea. Welcome to the program. So a seventh test in a month. What's behind this momentum?
Well, I think the Kim government in North Korea tried to negotiate a deal with Donald Trump, and then that fell apart. Your viewers probably remember that a couple of years ago. And then the Kim people gave Biden a year, the new president Biden, a year to sort of make some kind of offer or come forward with some kind of presentation or some kind of swap or deal or something like that. The Biden people didn't really do much on North Korea last year. Biden's got a really full plate, and I think the North Koreans figured, look, we gave the new guy a year. He hasn't given us anything, and now it's time to go back to the testing. I mean, the North Koreans need missiles and they need the nuclear weapons because it's really the only edge they have over the American and the South Korean militaries, which are conventionally much further ahead than what North Korea can put in the field today.
And I do wonder how they're able to do this technically when they're globally isolated.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. It's first of all, they impoverish their own population, right? I mean, if you're willing to let your own people be chronically malnourished for decades, I mean, you can find those resources. This is one of the things that makes North Korea such a difficult problem, right? I mean, it's willing to leave something around 40 to 50% of its population in chronic malnutrition in order to fund all this defense spending. And then, of course, it also has a long record of smuggling and all kinds of illicit operations around the world. Those go back to the 1970s, includes things like counterfeiting and drug running and proliferation. They were part of the AQ-Con network back in the 1990s. So the North Koreans are actually really, really good at getting around the sanctions to fund this kind of activity.
And back to the first point you made, President Biden having his plate full, and now it's even fuller with Russia, Ukraine. So what hope now for diplomacy? We know the US has said it wants to appeal directly to North Korea, but realistically, can the US administration deal with North Korea now?
Yeah, probably not, right? I mean, that's a good point. There's only so much diplomatic bandwidth out there, and the Biden people have been pretty sort of overwhelmed. COVID, of course, is a huge issue at home, and China is sort of looming. And now, of course, this Russian thing just popped up. And so, yeah, I would imagine that the Biden people probably don't have much in mind for North Korea. I mean, to a certain extent, I understand that, because if you think about what happened to Donald Trump, right? I mean, Donald Trump kind of bet his foreign policy legacy on a breakthrough with the North Koreans. And to be honest, the North Koreans really didn't give Trump very much. He didn't really bring home a particularly good offer. And so I think, I think the Biden people probably saw Trump and said, why are we going to do that? Why are we going to sort of charge into this morass with the North Koreans when it's so difficult to get a solution when we have all these other things? And I don't think it means so much that they don't care about North Korea. It just means there's so many other things going on. And North Korea is such a difficult problem that it just got deprioritized.
And let's talk about the technicalities of this nuclear-capable missile size that hasn't been seen since 2017. How concerning is this? And we've had 7 tests this year. Is that just because they need to test things for technical reasons?
Yeah, that's a good point too. That's usually one of the arguments that's made sort of in North Korea's defense, right? I mean, that they're missileizing and that they have to test these things to actually make sure that the platforms work. So I guess to a certain extent, it's, I don't know, it's not that intentionally disruptive. But it's also worth pointing out, though, that all of this does actually violate UN sanctions on the country. Have been in place since about 2006. And so, I mean, they're actually not supposed to do this. But I mean, these aren't really new capabilities, right? And the North Koreans have been developing these things for a while. The really big one, the 2017 test you mentioned, that was the one that proved they could strike the United States. If the North Koreans test that kind of weapon again, the Americans will respond more sharply. But I mean, the North Koreans are testing stuff that we think they already have. They're not bringing out new capabilities. They're refining what they have.
Fascinating. Thank you so much, Robert Kelly, joining us from Busan in South Korea. Appreciate your time and expertise.